All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Boxing Rush Hour show, fightsatw.com. I have a very special guest who made the time fresh off a flight to Colombia to come on here to the show. I know he's tired, but he wanted to fulfill what we had arranged beforehand, and I appreciate him for this. Newly seated, couple months in, WBO President Gustavo Olivieri. How you doing, Gustavo?
How are you, Abraham? It's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. And remember, if I give you my word, I have to honor my word. Okay, that's how we roll in the WBO, baby.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Gustavo has taken over for Paco Valcárcel, who was with the WBO, what, 30 years, something like that?
Almost,
Yeah,
yes,
almost 30 years. You were his right hand for about eight of them before taking over, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, correct.
Yeah, yeah. So Gustavo's been in the sanctioning body business with the WBO for a while. Before we get into anything, I just want to know who is Gustavo and how did you meet and fall in love with boxing?
Oh man, Gustavo's just working class kid, man, from the southwest part of the island. My mother's a registered nurse, now retired. My dad is a businessman. I got two brothers. Love basketball. I love Latin music. I'm a musician. I play percussion, drums. I love salsa, but all kinds of music as well. I've always liked sports. I used to be a very good basketball player. I played in little leagues with JJ Barea. We're from the
Mm,
same hometown. We were very close friends, and we played for the Puerto Rican national team on in one occasion. Um, the first time I had any contact with boxing, I think I was like 11 or 12 years of age. My dad got home with a sweatshirt of a Duran Leonard fight. He attended that fight and he got that souvenir. And when he got home, uh, with his bags, I saw the jacket. I mean, the sweatshirt, and it was just a white sweatshirt with the print of the fight poster. And thereafter, my dad said, "Oh, are you interested in boxing and learning?" I said, "Yeah." And then he said, "I'm gonna teach you, so you can learn how to defend yourself." And he took me to a nearby basketball court, and he bought a pair of gloves with the helmet, and he just asked some of the kids at the basketball court, "Hey, who wants to put the gloves with my son?" And this kid named Gabriel, I still remember his name, my man. He said, I'll spar with the kid," and he gave me an ass whooping, brother. And I was like, "No, no, this ain't for me, Dad. This ain't for me." And I still remember the kid's name. And if I see him today, I know who the kid is because he hit me real hard in the nose. I start bleeding a little bit, and thereafter it just progressed as a normal fan. In high school, a little bit more intense. Thereafter, in college, I was a little bit more into it, but I knew the general aspects of boxing. HBO, Showtime, Don King, Bob Arum, Frank Warren, Trinidad De La Hoya, Pacquiao, those type of general concepts. But I wasn't aware of the sanctioning bodies, how they work, for titles, what is mandatory, what is a rating system, how do you score a fight, how do you appoint the officials, the different regulatory aspects of when you conduct the fight in the U.S. jurisdiction and the UK, all those inner workings of the industry. And I got involved and my first shot with the BO was as an intern. I was doing an internship for graduate studies at Georgetown University in DC. And the BO gave me a chance after I had reached out to Golden Boy. Nobody answered the phone or emails. I reached out to Top Rank. A lady said, "Hey, kid, there's no vacancies here, no internships. Don't call here anymore." Boom. Um, I think I called Tom Brown, TGB. Nobody answered. The Puerto Rican Boxing Commission, but It's a government agency. You know how that works, bureaucracy. And yeah, we'll let you know, send your CV. And the BO, I called because I had to do an internship related with sports law. I'm a licensed attorney, and my graduate degree was related with sports law, entertainment, and laws. And the the internships that the school had like agreements with sports entities or law firms were related with Major League Baseball,
Mhm.
Major League Soccer, NFL, and there were no vacancies for legal positions. I could have done an internship like in ticket sales, community outreach, working with the little leagues, social media. But I said I'm a licensed attorney. I wanna have some involvement in this area, and also the theoretical aspects of the program with a little trial experience that I had at the time, like 2 or 3 years as a trial attorney. I wanted to put that in effect with the program. And I remember I talked to my academic advisor and I said, "What about professional boxing?" And the guy was like, "Well, we don't have no boxing here, but if you want to prepare a proposal, you submit the proposal. We'll check it out. We'll let you know." I exactly did that. And after I pitched to the advisor, this is a WBO, one of the major sanctioning bodies from Puerto Rico. I'm from Puerto Rico. I think it's a perfect fit. Um, they're gonna give me a chance. So yeah, after I was pushing for like 2 or 3 months, calling and emailing, because Paco was always traveling. And man, after a couple of not a couple, I would say numerous times of efforts of trying to get a chance, I got a call like on a Monday. I have my beer like this, no suit, no tie. I was already, I had already set out an apartment back in DC to return, maybe pursue a career as a prosecutor or an immigration law firm, or who knows. And I had a girlfriend at the time. We were living together for almost 10 years. And I got a call like on a Monday. Hey, Gustavo, this is the WBO office. I'm the secretary of the president. Are you available for an interview tomorrow? I say, yeah, absolutely. So I had to call a friend of mine for a haircut, trim my beard, the whole thing. Traveled um, 3 hours from my hometown to San Juan, which is where the main office are, the capital. And I got there early. Paco got late to the interview, and I remember he got to the interview and he put the feet like this, man, like this, like this, like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very OG, very OG.
Very, very Puerto Rican
Yeah,
OG.
and he was and the phone ringing from the office, and he was, "Hey, secretary, bring me this. I'm sorry, kid." And his phone ringing, a promoter. I was like, "What the hell is this?" Yeah, madness. And then he was like, "I have your CV." Um, he didn't ask me anything about boxing. He just asked, if I recall correctly, he asked me 3 questions. Number one, he asked me whether I had enemies,
Okay.
and I was like, "Not that I know of." If he said, "Do you do drugs?" I said, "No." And are you married? I said, "I'm not married. I have a girlfriend." Okay, okay. So these are under Puerto Rico employment law. These are prohibited questions in an interview. But that was his style. And he asked me how much I have to pay you. I said nothing, because this is a school program. I'm prohibited. No, but you're already an attorney. I said, no, 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 no. He's also an attorney. I said, Attorney Valcárcel, I just want a chance. Um, I just want a chance. I have to do this internship, and I just want to learn, and I just want a chance. He said, okay, so I got a couple of things to consider. I'll let you know. excuse me. And after like 2 more months, I kept pushing and calling the lady that served as liaison. And the lady just said, I don't know what to tell you, kid. He's not here. Just call him directly. She gave me his phone. I reached out. He said, hey, Gustavo, how you doing? I'm in a meeting. Call me later. I call him later. I'm in a meeting. I'll call you. And I said, man, he's not going to call. And he called back. And he said, how much I have to pay you? I said, no, I can't accept anything. No. And when can you start? Tomorrow. Come on Monday. And I started. I had to fulfill 80 hours a month. I tripled the hours. So I traveled from my hometown for 6 months, almost 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. And I got to the office at 8:30, 9-ish until 5 p.m. to get back to my hometown, to arrive at home like at 8:39, take a shower, go to bed. Do that for Monday to Friday. For like 2 months first. Then we had Hurricane Maria, who destroyed the island. No power shut out. And I said, well, the internship is over. Everyone's got to, seek help for their respective families and loved ones. I returned back to my hometown, and my oldest brother told me, hey, we got to go to my oldest brother is also an attorney. He has a law firm. Help me out. Let's pull out the water. It was all flooded. And working there with a shovel and the bucket and all dirty. And at the time, he got his power back because his office is located nearby a hospital. So they get priority, right?
Yep.
And I immediately went on. I got Wi-Fi. Surprisingly, I connected on my phone and I went to Twitter. There was a tweet from Paco saying, Attorney Olivieri called this number. So I went back home. You could connect to the internet on Wi-Fi, but you couldn't make calls because the networks, most of them were destroyed.
Yeah.
Because of Hurricane Maria. I don't even know how I got Wi-Fi at the time. Maybe there was a nearby Wi-Fi, but I went home and I called from a landline. Hey, Gustavo, how are you? Your family's okay? Yeah. Do you got a passport? Yes, I have. Okay, we're going to keep running operations in Florida. My office, my assistant is going to call you for your passport. We're gonna buy you a ticket and bring you out from Puerto Rico to Florida. And I said, okay, done. So I didn't consult with anybody. I was living with my girlfriend at the time. When I got home, hey baby, I gotta go for at least 4 more months. What the hell? Crazy. And I took the chance, man, and I did everything you could imagine, from archives, answering the phone, emails, picking people to the airport, chauffeur, putting up banners, posters, getting coffee, the most insignificant things you could imagine, working with merchandising, magazines, goodie bags for the conventions, setting up conventions, picking up promoters at airports, fighters, driver for a bus. And I think Paco tested me. He was like, let's see how much this kid can handle. And I said, I'm just like I'm a guy from, working class family. Everything is earned, not given, everything is hard work, dedication. I wasn't ashamed of doing the work. I just, my view was every task, if I can learn a little bit about it and maybe connect with somebody and ask a question, or, hey, how do you do that? What's the purpose of doing that? Or hey, and I think that was a plus. And he saw in me, this kid, got the commitment, the dedication, willingness to learn. If I don't know, I ask. I still do so today. I talk to him every day on the phone. Hey, Paco, I have this situation. How should I deal with it? And he sheds some light. He's like this batter. I always say this analogy that knows because of experience what type of pitch is coming. Fastball, slider, changeup, and if I can avoid taking dangerous path through Paco's experiences, so it's a blessing, and that progressed. And the responsibilities and obligations were in crescendo, conferred to me, to the point that I was then appointed as in-house counselor for the BL. And then I was working the legal thing, resolutions, conditions for the sanction letters, making contact with the promoters, with the contracts to calculate the purchase and read the provisions, compliance, all that stuff. I did some also other works, other tasks like the previously mentioned, but to a lower extent, right? And that went snowballing until maybe the last year or so that I was running the day-to-day operation at the WBO from the main office, obviously in consultation with Paco.
Yeah.
And he would speak obviously directly to Bob, for example, because of their long-standing relationship, the standing that, and with Frank Warren, I would speak with Moretti. I would speak with Georgie Warren, Francis Warren. I would speak with Tom Brown or Phil Weiss as attorney, or with Sean Gibbons as a liaison with Heyman. Ondasan would speak with Paco. I would speak with Tutico Zavala, and that I would speak with Eddie and Frank Smith, Sean Palmer, because we're contemporaries, obviously. But that, and the last year, like 5 or 6 months before the convention, it's like when I was noticing that Paco really was, taking a step back. And he said, Gustavo, I think it's the time. You're ready. I'm gonna be there supporting you by your side, because it's a transition process, and it's normal, and I understand it. And he supported my candidacy, and I was elected unanimously. But at the same time, most of the members were seeing me working, always traveling with Paco, under the radar, but they would know, hey, And I would also work during the conventions, producing the event. And I had no fucking clue how to produce an event. I don't come from that atmosphere or background. I don't have a degree but I just, I was learning, putting down fires and learning trial and error. Obviously, I would ask, hey, how do you do this? Or I would resort to somebody. I got this idea. No, that's not. Do it this way. And now I'm in Bogota right now because we have our convention in October of this year. So I'm organizing everything timely. It's my first convention. I want to hit a home run. I've hired one guy who's a renowned boxing promoter that knows how to do events, and also he's been a good friend and colleague, and also mentored me in that regard. And I also hired an expert from a hotel and entertainment, field, that she can guide me. Okay, this is the right tariffs, the hotel dynamics, logistics. So I would be guided accordingly with people that have an expertise in those areas. So it's the logical course of action in my view. So that's in general terms has been my my this roller coaster ride with the WBO.
No, and I think it's important for people to hear that, because too many times people that don't know the inner workings or how people can come about to their positions, they sometimes just automatically assume that somebody just slid into a spot and don't realize all the work that needed to happen before that to get
Sure.
to that position. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for people to understand that. Now, you once you were elected, after getting the keys to the yacht, as they say,
Mhm.
right? How soon did it all hit you that you were now the president of a sanctioning body of the WBO, that first organized in 1988, but not recognized until 2004? Like when did it really hit you that you were the guy now?
To be honest with you, man, let me see. I think when the my first events attending as president, the treatment is different, and it's cool, but I don't, I consider myself. I know I'm in a the position and what significance and the president, Mr. President here, but I'm just a regular guy, man. I want to keep myself grounded, keep learning, open and open for criticism, and try to make things correctly, implement some changes. But I don't want to have that aura. Oh, I'm not that type of guy, man.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be something that I'm not. You get me?
Yeah.
If
Because
I see you,
people will see that, see through that.
if I see you, Abraham, in a show, hey, what's up, my man? How you been? Let's grab a coffee. You want to do an interview? Shoot, man, let's do it. If I can't do it now, we'll schedule it later. But I don't want to be with that. I try to answer the phone to everyone, or reply to a text or an email. I've done many podcasts, you know, recognized level to lower, not so recognized. I don't have a problem with that. I think I think I have to be available to everyone because it's not about me. It's about the boxers and BO. But I think my first couple of events that they treat you different, and now people that used to look over the shoulder, or they would have their perception would be, who's this kid? Now it's like, oh, Mr. President, hey, here and there. But I don't, I want to be the same guy with everyone.
Yeah.
But surely, you know, I don't forget some instances.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Just so you know, Gustavo, I'm a made man, so I'm not at the lowest level. Okay. All right. It's been about 90 days, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is usually anybody. I was in the military. I spent 25 years in the Marine Corps. I retired from there. So,
Thank you for
you
your
know,
service, my man.
yeah, thank you. And so I know what it is to be like at the highest levels when talking at the executive level, enterprise
Sure.
level, all those things. The first 90 days is always the observation period. Whenever you fulfill a position like that, um, you having the first 90 days already, and the time to evaluate things, what have you noticed so far that required your immediate attention?
That's a great question. I think you've been the first. Uh, I think you've been the first boxing media rep that has asked me that question. Um, Man, making changes to a structure that has been in place for almost 30 years. That's tough because Paco had a way of doing things, his view, his perception, his mission, objectives, his goals. Um, and that takes time. Also, his personnel, they've all been under his um
They've been conditioned a certain way.
yeah, and there's always some objection to changes.
Yes.
And I'll tell you one example. Internally, this is a simple example. I've seen some letters that we exchange internally. For example, a letter with a letterhead uh, from let's say, the sanction letter from a particular fight. This sanction letter has a different letterhead than another sanction letter. Simple things. So those things I've said to my employees now, my colleagues, and also like mentors that have also guided me and helped me. reached to this point, I've told them we need to have consistency in the branding. The WBO is a brand. It should have the same logo, the same letterhead, the same formality, the same format. Like, for example, black format letter, all letters. And that would give a professional look to the organization, consistency, and would be like a standardized process. At first, no, but and there's always some sort of objection to some, and this is just minor changes, right?
Yeah.
Other things, remember, since there's a structure, those big changes have to be done slowly, and also feeling our members out, touching. How do you, one of the changes that I've started to implement is giving chance to new officials. You always see the same officials in the big fights. Sure, those officials with substantial experience, knowledgeable, competent, experience, championship level, that they're going to score it blue or red. And the implications of the fight in question, you have to consider that as well. But I've already appointed a couple of people. Excuse me. No, I'm going to give it a chance to this guy and this girl. New generations. Yeah. We got to renovate. If you don't give a chance to perform or execute, you can execute and maybe strike out in the first one. If you do it 2 or 3, there's a problem, right? From the judges and referee perspective, I've done those things. Some changes in that regard. The concept, the mission of the WBO, I'm trying to change it. We can't simply be. We sanction a fight for a minor title. You get rated, then you fight for the title. We give you the belt. We give you maybe a reception with the belt ceremony. That's cool and awesome. We give you a tracksuit, your gym equipment, boxing gloves, headgear, WBO, blah, blah, blah. We help you out with the gym. That's awesome. That's cool. But we have to do something. We have to do something, a game changer, right? That impacts directly the fighter. Now, the question is, what is it, right? But again, we have our limits as well as resources, and we have hundreds of fighters seeking an opportunity. One of the things that I've mentioned in previous interviews is, like, for example, we need to incentivize the boxers directly by which they would say, if I fight for the WBO, I'm benefiting personally, right? Like, for example, we have a champion kid. Let's say, for example, up and coming fighter like Xander Zayas. He becomes a world champion. Makes 4 or 5 consecutive title defenses. Xander, the WBO will pay your housing fees, the closing fees of your first property. We'll cover them in light of making 5 consecutive world title defenses. This is just an example of one of the concepts that I've been trying to develop. Another thing, second tier fighters that don't reach that level as Crawford, Canelo, Inoue, Amanda Serrano, using the heavyweights, the money makers. You would have a guy like, let's say, a relevant up and coming second tier level fighter that
Charles Conwell.
Let's say Christopher Diaz, Pitufo Diaz.
Okay.
Right? He fought for the title 2 times with Masayuki Ito, the Japanese, and then with Navarrete. Almost there, right? Always in good fights. Most probably he earned substantial purses in those particular fights. He got to that second stage, but didn't make it to the elite level. And the WBO would say, hey, champ, we would provide you maybe some seminars as to how to use correctly social media to promote and market your brand, because fighters are our brand,
Hmm.
right? Or let's say some fighters that don't have promoters, promotional backing. Hey, the WBO will provide you the resources either on site or remotely through a Zoom conference, how to use correctly the social media platforms to auto promote yourself, your brand, and maybe generate other sources of income not dependent on boxing.
Mm.
Another thing would be financial literacy with
Yes,
the
that's a big
boxers.
one.
Simple terms. What's a savings account? What's a checking account? What's a 401k? What's a 1040 when you are professional services, right? That you have to pay Social Security because fighters are independent contractors. What's an investment account, right? The WBO can also develop a program called the WBO Gives Back or Pays Back. We deduct you from your fees, and we deduct you from your purse, the fees, sanction fees, but after 3, 4 fights, we'll give you those same fees that we deducted, but we'll put them in an investment account at least 3 to 5 years, right? And that would generate some interest. Again, Abraham, we're just brainstorming here
Of course,
because
but those are all things that are relevant today, relevant now. I mean, what you explained just a minute ago are things that the NFL is doing, right? For everybody that's coming out of college, giving them those
sure,
courses and
and it's
having them understand that. Yeah.
and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, man.
Yeah.
Maybe replicate those policies or initiatives or programs from other professional sports that would serve the boxers. But
Yeah.
we got to do more than what we have done to sanctioning bodies for all these years, because either we adapt to the times and we create those conditions that the boxer would say, you know what, I want to fight for the BO.
Hmm.
I want to fight for the BO, regardless if I have to pay the fees. I'll pay the fees, but I'm going to get something out of it. I'm going to become a champion. And most probably, I'm going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Also, programs whereby we prepare those champions that are on the verge of retirement of, hey, man, these are possible alternatives that you may have as a champion. How to reincorporate yourself in society outside the hat of a boxer, because boxers retire 1 or 2 months, a year or something, they're back. They don't know what to do.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So there's a lot of things to be done, man. A lot of work to be done.
Interesting stuff. Good stuff. Going back to when you were talking about, people, um, some folks not accepting change and stuff. I was gonna ask you, were there ever moments in these first 90 days where you got but Paco told me this, or me and Paco had an understanding from some other boxing folks trying to kind of like run something
No,
past
sure, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And again, there were many commitments before my entry as a president that Paco had given his word,
you?
and his word is his bond. That's what he has taught me, and I have to honor that. Those commitments that Paco had, agreed to, I have honored them. That's Paco's a man's man, brother.
Yeah.
Real OG, real OG. He'll say no, he'll say yes, but he won't. But he won't give you no. Let me see. No, yes, but and then no, I didn't tell you. No, no. This is my word. Like, he's a real OG, old school guy. So I had the blessing of being mentored with a real OG, you
Yeah.
know? So if those promoters or managers, hey, Paco told me this, I would say, let me confirm. Paco, no, Gustavo. Okay, done deal.
Okay.
You know?
All right. And you mentioned something about the judges, and I want to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
That has always been, like the topic of discussion, right? Because,
Mm.
outside looking in, folks get frustrated. They're like, why do we keep using the same folks? Some guys continue to consistently turn in bad cards, and it just doesn't seem like there's any like repercussions. They don't have to face the media. They don't have to
Sure.
answer to nobody, and then they get
Yeah.
appointed again for the next fight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, is there anything that you're thinking about when it comes to the judges, like maybe like a grading process or like an evaluation process where we don't run into the situation where they're the same guys that are putting in these bad cards keep getting tabbed with these big fights?
I'm currently developing a internal scrutiny process to select those officials that really, that they're not going to miss a beat, right? You can have an off night
Of course.
like Michael Jordan used to have in LeBron, and now Doncic being traded. Um, Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And but for example, I've seen judges that let's see. I check all the scorecards, man. I'm a freak. Okay, how the hell this guy scored? No way. I checked the scorecard of the guy, and the guy, I recently appointed a guy out of respect to him. And also, I'm not going to disclose that. That's
Of course.
internal.
Of course.
But he scored, that fight was 12-0. He scored 11-1. So he gave a charity round because maybe in his mind, he was like, I don't want to be seen like I gave a shutout. And I went to him, hey, what can you explain to me why the 12th round you scored it for the other guy? And he was like, he couldn't make a good case. And I
Mm.
said, don't be scared to score the round as you see it, man. But that guy, he's in the penalty box currently.
Mm.
No, as well, those guys that render scorecards that that are not, you're out, man. I'm not appointing you anymore.
Mm.
Or I'll appoint them in a regional, a return back to the minor leagues.
Hmm.
You're the big leagues. You fuck up. Excuse my,
No, no, we're good. We're
I,
good.
this is real talk. You fuck up, minor leagues,
That's what it
and
needs to
then
be right there.
you progress again, and then you get another shot because I believe in second opportunities, man.
Of
You
course.
know, but you need to, and also we got to renovate officials, man. The same people, and you don't see a new blood, a new breed of officials coming in. Very few officials, young, maybe like your age, like my age, at least, because there's always some,
Hmm.
he's gonna take my job. I will have less assignments. But if the sport doesn't, you
Hmm.
know, what's the correct word? If it doesn't
Evolve.
evolve, we're we're gonna have dinosaurs in as all stakeholders. You know?
Yeah. No, you're right. You are absolutely right. Listen, you mentioned about the WBO conference, and that was my next topic here.
Yeah,
I know that you've hired some folks to help you put it together, and
yeah.
I was gonna ask you about that to ask if you thought that the WBO conference as it stood was still functional, or were there changes to the overall event that you feel like you need to make in order
No,
to
we
evolve?
we absolutely we have to. This year's convention, I'm planning to make it open to the general public.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to come, you pay the registration, and you'll get access to everything. And you can see it with your own eyes. Full transparency. How we work, how we make our decisions, how the rankings are discussed, the petitions, the mandatories, um, the social thing, the activities. I'm gonna try to do a museum of the WBO within the hotel premises, like a fight week, like the Super Bowl week where people meet
Like a fan
their
fest, yeah.
yeah, their fans, memorabilia, a real experience,
Mm.
right? Because remember, there's a perception that many of the wrongdoings of boxing are done behind the scenes, right? And rightfully so, to have that type of legitimate concern because of the history, right? But I can tell you, Abraham, it's if that doesn't happen, you know, and I can speak and I can speak primarily from the WBO's position, but and I always tell the fans, come to the WBO office. I'll open the doors. I'll send you the files. Come one day, do a report from my office, see how we work. People say, for example, oh, WBO what Bob orders. Okay, but that it's not that Bob calls Paco or calls me or Moretti. Hey, I wanna do this fight, and if the guy complies with the criteria and has the merits, yes. If not, no. They had Janibek, who was going to fight Sheraz. I ordered that fight. Sheraz didn't want it. You're out, right? Then Janibek's team called me. Hey, can you put Shane Mosley Jr. as the mandatory? Hell no. Who has he fought? Has he complied with the ratings criteria? No. Am I going to order a mandatory that hasn't complied? Do I want to shoot myself in the foot? Do I want to jeopardize the champion, the network, the sanctioning body, the fighter? I don't want to, you know, I want to try to make things right and make some changes and be very careful with my decisions because all eyes are on me as the new kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to try to, within what my rules allow me to do so, do things correctly, consistently, and by the book, man.
Yeah.
But transparency is paramount. And one of the things I'm going to start doing is once I have the judges for a particular fight, I'll announce them. These are the judges. Boom. And the scorecard. Let's say, for example, this is the WBO scorecard, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would have Abraham, Gustavo, right? And the rounds, and it would be 10-9, right? And net 10-9. But when the judge renders that score, you don't know what was the analysis or the assessment of why he reached that 10-9. I'm gonna put maybe on the scorecard the criterias in a little checkbox: close, moderate, decisive, extreme decisive, right? And on the back of the scorecard, the scoring criteria, so they could have at all times the criteria there for a refresher, whatever, just as a subconscious, you know. And if the scorecard is rendered and it's a 10-9 and it was extreme decisive, right? Overwhelmingly decisive, and the guy puts on the box close round, you know there's a problem.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Or at least it sheds some light of what is the problem. So these are you know, some ideas that I'm trying to implement that don't require much. It's not rocket science. I think it's just taking what you have and trying to do some twitches here and there to make it better. Now, you mentioned about whether officials should be subject to public scrutiny as to making public remarks. I have my concerns there.
Okay.
I have my concerns there because not all of them are, first of all, they're not accustomed to address the media, right? They should be viewed as judges in a sense, like in a courthouse, right?
Okay.
The judges, they explain their decision in writing, their ruling, but they are not subject to questions with the media for ethical grounds and all that stuff. What I'm gonna do is most probably starting next month, I'm going to start making through social media called WBO Boxing 101. Like simple, informative, educational post. WBO Boxing 101. How do you score a round? 10-point must system at the end of the round, either red or blue, 10 and 9. Simple, basic terms.
Mm-hmm.
How do you designate boxing officials? How do you rank a fighter? How do you move him up? How do you move him down? How does he stay there? How do you exclude him? How do you insert him? To explain and educate the fans.
Small doses and small doses.
It's small doses.
Yeah.
Baby stuff, man.
Yeah.
Baby stuff.
Yeah.
And provide them through social media. Hey, these are the inner workings, because many people criticize and they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy got robbed. No, he didn't. It was a very close fight. And but the argument of it could have gone either way. Yes, it's subjective, right? And some officials, regardless of when you have the criteria there, some officials may say, in their subconscious, I like the aggressive fighter. I like the more technical, defensive type of fighter. But it's not perfect, but it works. What we have works. There are more consistent decisions than controversial decisions.
Yeah. All right. Listen, recently, earlier today, I should say, press release came out talking about strengthening ties to benefit boxing in Puerto Rican youth. Jake Paul's Boxing Bullies is also involved in it. Can you explain a little bit about the significance of what happened that day where you had that meeting and everything about the press release?
Okay. Well, the WBO survives through the membership of its affiliates, right? The officials, referees, judges, commissioners, etc., and the promoters through the fights they promote and produce by way of the sanctioning fees. If we have no fights, we have no income, right? Like in the COVID, everything was shut down. We had no sources of income entering our accounts, right? So what I want to do is I want to start making alliances with government agencies and private sector industries or companies, and to have other sources of income, regardless if they are for profit purposes. I would receive those sources of income, and my vision as a nonprofit, the scope of my mission and objective, the existence of what, the purpose of for why we exist, to help the youth, the kids, the boxing, the social aspects, expand the scope of our mission and objectives by way of having more resources, private funding, government. That's primarily the idea. We started. It's a new government in Puerto Rico, and this is the Secretary of Sports and Recreational Government Agency. They have their own their own budget, their own regulatory things and plans throughout the whole island. The guys, the secretary is a boxing freak, so it's makes sense. So every initiative or every activity or program that the WBO implements, if we can have him on board, it adds to the BO. It doesn't subtract to the BO. So first, we have more resources. Second, it's a broader scope of engagement and exposure, because they have their own a media team. It's the whole agency department of sports for the whole island. Number three, our brand the awareness that it's more than just boxing, two individuals exchanging back and forth. It's more than that. It's community outreach. It's making changes, excuse me, in the youth, in the communities. Boxing is the first thing, right? It should be directly tied to boxing. But if we can use our resources and combine them with the government and private entities, sponsorships, endorsements for the benefit of the BO, but the boxers themselves. And I'll give you an example. I got a call today from a solar panel company, right? They want to have a sort of title to give it out to their marketers and sellers of their solar panels.
Okay.
So they would have a monthly selling competition of who will be the most who will be the best seller of the company during that month, right? I told, oh, you guys do solar panels. What else do you guys do? Oh, we also work with roofing, when you have roofing problems.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's meet. We can do maybe a partnership or an exchange. I'll give you the belt. We'll put it WBO in your logo. You would use it within your employees, and you would provide me maybe solar panels for a boxing gym that needs it. Or you would give me at least some budget to use it for equipment, rehabilitation of a gym, scholarship. Who knows? But I wouldn't be solely dependent on a boxing fight.
That's smart.
You see?
Yeah.
So those are things that I'm trying to, and yesterday was the first partnership we did with the sports and recreational department of Puerto Rico, because we're a Puerto Rican based sanctioning body, and we're the only sports institution founded by Puerto Ricans, with home office of Puerto Ricans, with home office in Puerto Rico, with international reach. The only one. And some people don't even know it in Puerto Rico. So I want to do things differently.
Got you. All right. I'm gonna hit the fight business here, hot and heavy. Hot out off the press, maybe about an hour ago, they said that the Terence Crawford Canelo is off.
I saw that, man. I saw that. I had no clue. I have to make some calls to see what the hell happened.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you, like, what does that mean for Terence Crawford? Because he's the interim champ at 154, if I'm not mistaken, right? With
Correct.
the WBO. So,
yeah.
And Sebastian Fundora is rumored to be fighting Shardale Booker.
Yeah, that's a done deal.
That's a done deal.
Mid-March in Las Vegas.
Mid-March. Okay, yeah. So if Terence is not going to fight Canelo, you guys probably have to have a discussion about, what happens with him next, right?
We do, because I want to. First, I'm not a fan of interim championships.
I was going to ask you that later, but no. I'm glad you said that.
I'm against interim championships unless extraordinary circumstances warrant an interim championship, which may be injury, which is the obvious one. The fighter has let's say a legal impediment, right? Or a extraordinary circumstances not attributed to him that would prevent him from fighting. And three, if the champion is unifying and pursuing undisputed status, whereby there are plans that if he wins this undisputed, then this unification, he's gonna unify again, because that's what the trend is, showing. Well, to give other fighters an opportunity to keep the division active, I can certainly consider an interim. Or we have similar situation like Teofimo. Who the hell knows what's going to happen with Teofimo?
I was going to ask you that too.
The uncertainty, he's been a little bit inactive. So we did what we had to do. I first said, no, this is an elimination bout. And Paco, let me tell you, Paco told me, no, you should do an interim. I said, no, I want to do elimination bout. I don't want to do an interim, then elevate him through an email, through a legal document. I don't want to do that. The same goes stripping a champion through a legal document. That would be the last resort, right? So the TO thing, unfortunately, took place with Top Rank. So what we did was the elimination. We elevated to interim, which I think was a reasonable decision. But within 180 days, no later than August, TO and the winner
Got to
must
fight.
fight.
And
Must fight.
I was gonna ask you if
But
Tio.
before,
Okay.
sorry, but going back to the Crawford to answer your question,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I'm gonna make some calls, but I got to talk to Terence and his team. We're very close. Terence is WBO family, and see what he wants to do, because
Yeah.
he's entitled to give him a chance to hear him out. What do you want to do, champ? We'll accommodate your needs as within what my rules allow me to do so. But certainly, I got to tell him, hey, champ, we have to do something with the interim, because I can't have two champions. If he says I'll fight Fundora, we'll order the fight, and we'll terminate the interim champion status.
Got you. Got you. And then so for Teofimo, you haven't heard anything about him and Hitchens potentially fighting or anything like that.
I've heard.
Okay, you've heard of that.
Apparently that's in the works. What I told Tio, he called me directly on my phone, my cell. I said, hey, champ, how are you? Everything's okay. This is WBO. This is your house, whatever, always available for you and your team. But I have to play by the rules, and I have to abide by my rules and enforce them consistently. If not, I'll be just a puppet here. So I cannot guarantee you anything. As of now, you have to comply with the ruling. And I told him, once, if the Hitchens unification materializes itself, your team will need to file a petition to the BO that will be referred to the championship committee, which is composed of 4 members. They would see the pros and cons, the arguments raised by the parties, the arguments raised by the winner of Cameron Barbosa. They would consider what's the best, how the best interests of boxing are served, as to which decision they would rule on the matter. I don't want to be forcing an issue that it's beyond my duties. That's why we have committees. I could make a recommendation, but the committee either votes or approves or denies. I don't want my colleagues to be a rubber stamp.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Recently, maybe a couple weeks ago, I saw you put out a letter for Sam Goodman that he needed to provide some medical documentation. Any updates on that?
Yeah, Sam Goodman, as you know, suffered an injury sparring, and then he got twice. We have to, we issued what is called a show cause letter, where he has to provide reliable evidence through a certified medical physician as to what is his condition, the prognosis, recovery time, when he will be able to fight. Apparently, he will be able to fight within, I believe, June or July. I think the promoter, Matt Rose, who called me recently, I think on Monday, he's gonna put him in a tune-up fight. But we will have to see what the committee determines, because he hasn't fought in over a year.
Yeah.
So if you're the number one and you haven't fought over a year, that has some implications. The question would be, well, but he got injured. Okay, he got injured now, recent.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't active, right? At the same time, you could say, well, he's fought rated opposition. It would be an injustice, to demote him or exclude him from the ratings. We're going to certainly consider the particular aspects of the case, because I could certainly sympathize with his circumstances. But I don't make the final decision. I recommend to the committee. The committee renders a ruling, and we shall see, because Inoue has the IBF mandatory first, which is Goodman. I will have to consult with Daryl, my friend, to see what is his position. We also have Goodman number one. Also, you have the WBA there, but they're talking about the WBC. So multiple interests coming
Yeah.
into play.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Chocolatito Gonzalez. I see he's number one at 115. Has there been any discussions about him and his ranking with the WBO?
Yeah, Chocolatito most probably will fight the South African CAF
Okay.
champion. They're just, there are ongoing negotiations to do that fight in Managua, Nicaragua.
Okay. Okay.
Once that materializes itself, probably the promoter will announce it, but there are, behind the scenes moves towards that direction.
Okay. I see Bruce Shushu Carrington. He's number one at the WBO as well.
That is correct.
And he is, it looks like he's, I think, number one with the WBC as well.
New York City.
Yeah, New York City. He's got a fight coming up soon.
Yeah.
Has there any been discussions of him going the WBO route? For
he's currently number one.
Yeah.
Espinosa just discharged his mandatory against Royce Ramirez.
Yeah.
So he has, ample time to unify. And if he wants to unify, we're going to certainly allow him to unify.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be any problem because he's a top-ranked fighter. Shushu's a top-ranked fighter. I think Shushu still, I think Top Rank still considers him that he may need one or two more fights.
Yeah.
Before, and who knows if Espinosa moves up to 130 and fights Navarrete, which will be fireworks.
Yeah.
And thereafter, you would have Shushu fighting for the vacant. So remains to be seen, but Shushu's on the verge for a world title shot with the BO, obviously. He loves that burgundy color, the BO. He's been in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico.
When I spoke to him, he went a couple of times, I think, with his fiance, and he really enjoyed himself over there.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Speaking of Puerto Rico, Xander Zayas, he's fighting next week, and I know he's ranked number one. That was a spot that I think Josh Kelly was, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
Not too long ago.
Yeah.
So is Xander? I mean, how's that situation with Xander for him potentially getting a shot?
Well, now with the Crawford scenario making a twist, Xander, who is on the verge of, hitting a home run, I have to first terminate the interim championship, right? That will be the mandatory. Crawford and Fundora will be the mandatory. So let's say the possible scenarios are the following. Fundora and Crawford fight, we terminate the interim, and the winner has no mandatory. And Xander will need to wait until the mandatory comes to force him to face the champion, unless the champion wants to do a voluntary with Xander. Top Rank knows how to maneuver those things. Obviously, they're going to protect their investment.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Xander's not ready. He may be ready, but if Crawford's there, that's the big dog in 154. Whereas if Crawford moves up, I really think that Xander would certainly have tremendous shot to winning the BO belt. It would be also a terrific fight. Clash of styles. Xander's a boxer, speed, lateral movements, intelligent guy, has his, significant power, not devastating power, but, can bang a little. And Fundora is just, like in the pocket type of fight.
Yeah.
Doesn't use his distance, his reach, his jab. So I think it's a good mesh of styles, but let's see what happens now because the Crawford has the key.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then at the heavyweights, Zhilei Zhang. It looks like Parker, if I'm not mistaken, Parker's he's gonna walk in with the interim title against Dubois, but then will be stripped at that point.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay.
That is correct.
Zhilei Zhang is number one.
He's fighting for the interim WBC.
Zhilei Zhang is.
Yeah, Zhilei Zhang against Ajit Caballel.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Okay.
fighting for the interim. Once they fight for the interim, they're out. You know,
Got you. Got you. Okay. All right. And then I think this is going to be the last question, and I appreciate your time again.
I'm going
Um
to sleep now, my man.
yeah. What are three things that you told yourself that you want to get done while president that will ultimately define your legacy?
Damn, man. Oof, that's a tough one. Number one would be creating my own style, right? My own style, my own path, doing things the way I consider them to be appropriate, right? Playing by the book, integrity, honesty, transparency, and also accepting my mistakes. If somebody criticizes me and I fuck up, I have to be a man's man and say, you know what? This decision didn't go the way, or I made the wrong decision, accepting my mistakes as well, being truthful to myself, and also taking the BO to to another level from a marketing standpoint, branding, exposure, and having a direct impact on the fighters.
Mm,
And one more thing, I want to have like our main office. It's a little bit small, very very simple. If you go, you would say, "Wow, this is a world boxing office," because it's very moderate, and we have maybe 3 employees with me, 4, and we're a world sanctioning body with huge resources of you know of reach and members and all that stuff. I want to have like a WBO satellite, main office where you would have the WBO Hall of Fame, right?
mm,
Section. You would have a WBO store. You would have a WBO theater where you would have the seminars of education, continuing education for the judges. Having the boxers want to watch a fight, come to the WBO theater. You would watch the WBO fights, and we would charge something simple to cover some expenses, or maybe use that income to like a raffle for a boxing gym of the community,
mm.
a WBO boxing gym where you would train. The general public would come, or the kids, and we would have boxers, and we would hire maybe up and coming boxers. Hey, help the kid with the mitts, or train, do seminars.
Yeah.
Uh, have all the activities that the pressers have, a conference room for um, um, how do you say that? Stream the purse bid proceedings
Yes.
so people can see what the hell's going on.
Yes,
So those
yes.
things, I would say that, making changes, consistency, doing things correctly, helping the fighters directly, man. Because the questions, the, oh, what do they do with the sanctioning fees? That has to have a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beyond, the scholarships, the kids, the gyms, that's cool. But some questions are like, yeah, but what about me? The money they're taking out of my pocket, right? That's the argument. It's not that we're taking. You want to fight for the BO, you're not obliged to fight for the BO. You can select whichever title you want. There are many of them, right? If you want to fight with the BO, well, you have to pay something because there's some operational costs, you know. But if you go to our office, you would say, well, these guys were responsibly um, financially, in the sense of overhead and expenses. All of our paperwork is duly filed at the Federal Trade Commission on a yearly basis. You can see our financial tax reports, everything. So we play by the book. But we need to do more from a you know optical standpoint.
Yeah.
So people could say, you know what, this is a sanction that really does it right, or intends to do so.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, Gustavo, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much
Yeah, my
for
man.
sharing everything this evening. And yeah, man, I wish you the best of luck in during your time as president for the WBO for years to come.
Thank you, my man. Always a pleasure. You have a good night, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Take